The city passes new law to regulate subdivided flats, requiring a minimum size of 8 square meters, proper windows, and a separate toilet. A swimmer and a foreign domestic helper face prosecutions related to storm chasing. And another typhoon hit the Philippines after Ragasa, causing 4 deaths and massive evacuations. Good evening. You're watching Cable News. I'm Jeremy Zhu. Lawmakers passed the Basic Housing Units Bill, which sets minimum standards for living conditions in subdivided units, including requirements for space and a separate toilet. Secretary for Housing Winnie Ho described it as a momentous step towards bidding farewell to substandard tiny apartments and pledged to increase public housing supply. Evelyn Bai has the story.
我宣布議案獲得通過。
After hours of debate, the majority of lawmakers showed their support for the bill. The bill mandates that basic house units must have a minimum size of 8 square meters and a ceiling height of 2.3 meters, with at least one openable window and one enclosed toilet. Fire safety, adequate lighting and ventilation, exclusive water and electricity meters are among other conditions. Homeowners can register their units from March next year, with a registration period of 1 year and a 3-year grace period for owners to make necessary modifications and apply for accreditation. In a move to urge owners and operators to get their subdivided units certified promptly, we set a period of 6 months before the end of the grace period, during which those uncertified units cannot be leased, preventing owners from delaying modifications or applications until the last minute, Ho stated. In response to some lawmakers' concerns about whether owners would pass renovation costs on to tenants, the housing chief expected that as public housing supply increases and demand for subdivided flats gradually falls, rents will not surge. Ho added that orderly enforcement against illegal rented subdivided flats will begin after the 12-month registration period concludes. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
In a major step towards autonomous transportation in the city, mainland tech giant Baidu is set to begin testing its self-driving vehicles on the busy streets of Kowloon East, marking the technology's first major foray into a dense urban environment in Hong Kong. Quentin Yang tells us more.
The trial, outlined in a Transport Department filing to the Kwun Tong District Council, will see 6 automated vehicles navigate a 23-kilometer route through Kai Tak and Kowloon Bay without passengers. The planned path connects key areas, including the Kai Tak Cruise Terminal, Kai Tak MTR Station, and Kowloon Bay's Industrial District, operating during off-peak hours to ensure safety and minimal disruption. If approved, the testing could begin by the end of the year. The expansion builds on Baidu's earlier, more restricted tests in northern Lantau and Tongchong, where it has accumulated over 20,000 kilometers of accident-free driving. Crucially, the Kowloon East pilot will challenge the technology with genuine city traffic. For safety, each vehicle will have a backup driver on board, and the system will switch to manual control on complex stretches of road. The proposal will be presented to the Kwun Tong and Kowloon City District Councils for consultation next Monday and Tuesday. Quentin Yang, Cable News.
Police arrested a foreign domestic helper on suspicion of child neglect after allegedly taking 2 children aged 4 and 8 to watch strong waves in Kennedy Town as super typhoon Ragasa hits the city. Another man was also charged earlier today for allegedly engaging in storm-chasing activities. The 54-year-old man was suspected of swimming at the closed Golden Beach in Tuen Mun while the typhoon signal number 10 was in effect on Wednesday. After receiving reports, police arrived at the scene and issued a warning to him before he left. Following further investigation, police issued a summons for violating beach regulations to prosecute the man in court. Under the Bathing Beaches regulation, anyone who fails to comply with temporary closure orders, if convicted, could face a fine of up to $2,000 and 14 days behind bars. On Thursday, police arrested 2 women for allegedly bringing a child to take selfies and film the stormy seas at the South Horizons, while the number 10 warning signal was in effect. The government is considering introducing practicing certificates with regular renewal requirements for teachers. Secretary for Education Christine Choi emphasized a zero-tolerance policy for misconduct, saying any teachers with criminal convictions during the renewal process will lose their certificates. Evelyn Bai reports.
The recent policy address proposes enhancing the teacher registration mechanism and amending the education ordinance to introduce the practicing certificate and regular renewal requirements, which will ensure all teachers in the city are fit and proper persons. Taking to the airwaves, Choi said the registration of teachers is valid for a lifetime basis under the existing mechanism, and only serious violations lead to termination. The new system will involve regular reviews to keep teachers updated and safeguard student safety, Choi noted. The certificate, the education chief added, will reduce schools' concerns about teachers being accused of a crime while teaching off campus. In addition, the authorities might consider whether teachers are residing in the city before issuing proposed practicing certificates. Choi said the move could prevent educators who moved away in recent years from working locally in the future. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
Less than a month into the new school year, a survey suggests the city's Child Happiness Index has shown a slight improvement. However, the study also indicates that primary 6 pupils are still under higher pressure. Lingnan University, in collaboration with several other universities, interviewed more than 3,700 primary and secondary school students. On a 10-point scale, the overall happiness index stands at 6.85, a marginal increase of 0.1 points from last year. The sense of life worth living scored 6.9 points, rising by 0.16. Furthermore, the index for students who reported having not been bullied scored 3.72, a slight increase of 0.9%. Nevertheless, the report highlights that happiness levels tend to decrease in higher primary years. The happiness index for primary 6 students has been on a continuous decline for the past 3 years, coupled with a 3% rise in perceived academic pressure. In view of the network disruption at Circle K chain, SF Express has suspended self-pickup service at the convenience stores. The express delivery firm apologized for the inconvenience caused, adding that the resumption time will be notified separately. Circle K Hong Kong, which operates nearly 400 outlets across the city, encountered a suspected cyber attack over the weekend, affecting its e-payment, email, and loyalty program systems. Meanwhile, only cash and octopus payments are accepted at the stores. Service such as e-payment top-up, utility bill payment, as well as voucher, stamp collecting, and redemption functions were suspended. Reeling from the effects of super typhoon Ragasa, the Philippines was hit by another typhoon, Bualoy, causing at least 4 deaths and massive evacuation. Extensive damages were seen at the Masbate city, where at least 3 people have died in the storm. Over 400,000 persons were displaced as Bualoy made landfall over Mansalay today and then weakened into a storm. Bualoy is the latest of back-to-back storms from the Pacific to threaten Asia. It is expected to move across the South China Sea and intensify gradually in the next couple of days, moving in the general direction of the seas south of Hainan Island. In Hualien County of Taiwan, the death toll from Typhoon Ragasa has risen to 17 after torrential rain overwhelmed a barrier lake in a mountainous region. Emergency crews are continuing to search through deep mud for more than 10 individuals who remain unaccounted for. The flooding started on Tuesday, unleashing a torrent of sludge upon the town of Guangfu. Although the floodwaters have now subsided, a thick layer of dark gray mud still covers vast sections of the area, severely hampering rescue efforts. Many of the deaths occurred among the elderly, who were unable to follow orders and move upstairs and out of the way, with the oldest being 100 years old. Taiwan's leader Lai Ching-te toured the disaster-stricken county, where he spoke with residents as well as firefighters and soldiers who have been assisting with disaster relief.
跟花莲的乡亲站在一起。
Lai stressed the authorities' commitment to disaster recovery, saying it will do its utmost to help the region with local officials. U.S. President Donald Trump further advanced his economic nationalist agenda, wielding executive power to sign TikTok's U.S. operations over to a confidant-led coalition and escalating trade war with a new salvo of protective tariffs, including a 100% levy on branded pharmaceuticals. Quentin Yang reports.
Flanked by Vice President J.D. Vance and other senior officials, Trump signed an executive order which he said will spin off TikTok into a new U.S.-controlled entity. Though much is still unknown about the actual deal in the works, Trump said President Xi Jinping had approved it.
I had a very good talk with President Xi, a lot of respect for him. Hopefully he has a lot of respect for me too. And we talked about TikTok and other things, but we talked about TikTok and he gave us the go-ahead.
The deal, valued at $14 billion by Vance, hands control of the popular app's U.S. business to a group led by Oracle and Silver Lake, slashing its Chinese parent company ByteDance's stake to a passive minority below 20%. Crucially, American owners will command the vital algorithm, with the board dominated by Trump allies like Oracle's Larry Ellison and media mogul Rupert Murdoch, while ByteDance's sole representative is barred from security matters. The administration promises a seamless transition for the app's 170 million American users. Simultaneously, Trump unveiled punitive tariffs against what he described as a large-scale flooding of imports, set to take effect October 1st. The most drastic is a 100% tariff on branded or patented pharmaceuticals, a move poised to hit major exporters like the UK and Switzerland, unless they establish U.S. plants. Additionally, a 25% tariff will be applied to imported heavy-duty trucks, while imports of kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities, and associated products will face a 50% tariff, and upholstered furniture will be subject to a 30% duty. Quentin Yang, Cable News.
South Korea has joined many parts of the world in allowing the performance of tattoos without a medical license, following the passage of the Tattooist Act in Parliament. Cheryl Yun has more details.
It was an emotional moment for tattoo artists in South Korea, who can now legally open their doors and work in broad daylight after the parliament lifted a 33-year-old ban on tattooing by non-medical professionals. The Tattooist Act introduces an official licensing system for tattoo artists to obtain and places them under state supervision. Now we can finally work with a sense of mission and responsibility in our craft, said the chairman of the Korea Tattoo Association. The restrictions stem from a 1992 Supreme Court ruling that defined tattoos as medical procedures, citing health concerns. Anyone offering tattoos without credentials faced up to 5 years in prison or a fine of up to 50 million Korean won. However, the government do not aggressively enforce these rules, allowing tattooists to thrive in the shadows. The bill's passage comes amid shifting public attitudes towards tattoos, which have become increasingly popular even among many of South Korea's K-pop idols. Experts estimate millions of South Koreans have had tattoos, about 70 of them as semi-permanent cosmetic tattoos on their eyebrows, eyelines, lips, or scalps. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
Now let's take a look at the stock market. The Hang Seng Index ended the day down 356 points. Onto the weather now. Mainly cloudy, 1 or 2 showers tonight and tomorrow morning. Hot with sunny periods during the day tomorrow. There will be swells, a few showers in the following couple of days. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our news tonight. I'm Jeremy Zhu. Thanks for watching. Good night.